Parasite Eve was unlike anything I'd seen before in the late 90s. Square had always been known for epic fantasy RPGs, but this was their first mature rated game. Right from the start, Eve torches an entire opera house. Eve is just lighting everyone up on fire. And no, it's not from her singing. Geez, I'm surprised she doesn't stop to take a selfie while she's doing this. My goodness, Eve, that's not right. You can't burn people alive just for giving you a 1-star review on Bravo Meter.
Come on! Nothing to see here! Please disperse! Nothing to see here, please!
And instead of a hero wielding a sword, you're armed with a modern-day weapon like pistols, rifles, even grenade launchers. It blended survival horror with RPG strategy in a way I'd never experienced before. Aya could move in battle, dodge attacks, and position herself, a huge change from the traditional turn-based systems I was used to. And those mutated monsters, the first rat transformation, is still burned in my brain. I first played through this through a PlayStation Magazine demo disc, and it completely floored me. But back then, I was serving the US Navy and I couldn't buy every new release. That's one of my regrets. I never picked up the full game. Fast forward to now, and this is my new copy, bought sealed off of eBay, and I saved it until I was ready to finally sit down and finish it. Aloha, my name is Mike, and I'm a Hawaiian gamer and former US Navy Seabee. I'd like to welcome you to the Gaming Road Warrior channel, where we talk about retro games from the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. I'm your guide and storyteller of the gaming wasteland, and today, we're going to take a look at an awesome game from the early days of the PS1, Parasite Eve. Released in North America on September 10th, 1998, Parasite Eve is what Square called a cinematic RPG. It came out during a time when the studio was experimenting heavily, and even now it still feels like a one-of-a-kind game. In this episode, we're going to take a look at the story, characters, and gameplay of Parasite Eve, and later on we'll take a quick detour into another retro classic in the 90s game break, Tenchu, Stealth Assassins, a game I'll probably cover in full in the future. Now, a quick heads up, when we get to the story and character sections, there will be spoilers, including the ending. If you've never played Parasite Eve and want to experience it fresh, you might want to skip ahead to the gameplay section. So grab your gun, M16 rifle, and M203 grenade launcher, because it's time to hit the throttle to the gaming wasteland. It all begins on Christmas Eve, 1997. Aya Bree, a rookie cop for the NYPD, attends an opera at the Carnegie Hall on a date. However, this sweet romantic holiday activity takes a turn when just about everybody in the audience bursts into flames. Everybody except Aya, her date, and the opera singer on stage. Aya shoulder checks her date to safety, pulls out her gun, and confronts the singer, who calls herself Eve. Eve notes that Aya wasn't affected by her song, which means they must be alike, and her own powers should be awakening soon. Aya's confused, but after Eve tries to blast her with a freaking laser beam, she fights back with her gun. The fight ends in a draw as Eve says that Aya's mitochondria need more time to develop, and the more she uses her powers, the faster she'll become just like her. Eve then escapes backstage, and as Aya chases her down, she keeps seeing a little girl who looks familiar to her. The same one who keeps showing up in flashes of a memory from her childhood. She doesn't get too much time to think about that though, because she comes across a rat that mutates into a horrifying monster right in front of her. This is the first of many battles with mutant creatures for Aya, but they don't get any less gross from here. Like seriously, imagine calling pest control for this guy. Yeah, hi, there's a rat in my kitchen. It just doubled in size, its spine ripped out of its back, and now it's auditioning for Alien.
Really? A rat? This is my franchise, buddy.
Making her way backstage, Aya learns about Eve, also known as Melissa Pierce, to other people in the theater, and comes face to face with her again. Only this time, she also transforms into her monster form, as she says the days have come for the mitochondria to be free. After another fight, Eve escapes into the sewers, and Aya gets a ride home from her partner, Daniel Dolis. The next day, Christmas Day, Aya begins to learn more about what's happening. She and Daniel head to the Museum of Natural History, where they meet Dr. Hans Gruber? Oh, it's Dr. Hans Klump, a scientist who recently published a study about mitochondria. When they get there, Aya feels like Dr. Klump looks familiar from the same memory flash she keeps having, but doesn't say anything about it. Klump explains how mitochondria work and how they could be the cause of the spontaneous combustion Aya witnessed at the opera. News reaches Aya and Daniel that Melissa was scheduled to perform at Central Park later that same day, and with Eve's power growing by the minute, everybody in that audience would be in danger, including Daniel's son, Ben. They then rush to Central Park, but Daniel isn't able to go in because of Eve's spontaneous combustion powers. Aya goes in alone, fighting off the mutated animals of the Central Park Zoo on her way to the concert. When she finally gets there, it's too late. Eve's song causes the audience to pop and melt into a blobby orange mass, and Aya chases her down again, and they end up fighting on a flaming horse-drawn carriage rolling through the park. Eve gets away again, and Aya gets knocked unconscious. When she wakes up, she meets a Japanese scientist named Kunihiko Maeda, who explains that a similar event occurred in Japan several years before, and it culminated in Eve attempting to give birth to the ultimate being. Maeda believes that the new Eve's cellular structure is becoming more unstable, and that she might also be attempting the same thing. During this conversation, Aya thinks about her sister Maya, who died in a car accident when she was young. Aya, Daniel, and Maeda make their way to Dr. Clamp's lab to run some tests with Eve and Aya's DNA. They discover that Aya's cells are able to fight off Eve's, but they're not sure why. Clamp then shows up, threatens the group for using his lab, and Daniel punches him in the face. No! It's awesome.
And his name is John C.
Realizing that Eve needs that thing for her ultimate being, the group heads to the Bank at St. Francis Hospital to stop her.
Driving in my car right after a beer. Hey, that bomb is shaped like a deer.
But they're again too late. She's already did this thing to herself, and things are about to get very, very bad. Along the way, Aya learns that her sister Maya's cells are connected to Eve, which explains why she has powers of her own. After multiple battles and a final showdown on a Navy cruiser, Aya defeats both Eve and the ultimate being, ending the nightmare, at least for now. With that, the day is saved, and Aya goes to a Christmas Day opera with Daniel and Maeda to make up for the previous day's disaster. During the performance, a new power awakens in Aya and spreads throughout the crowd as her eyes begin to glow purple. That's where the credits roll. And now let's look at what it's like to actually play Parasite Eve. Parasite Eve puts a ton of focus on its story, like you would expect of a game from Square, but thankfully that didn't come at the cost of the gameplay. Combat mixes real-time movement with an active time bar system. You can dodge attacks, then strike when your bar fills, choosing between weapons, items, or Aya's parasite powers. It's simple to learn but adds a layer of strategy that was ahead of its time. Parasite Eve also has a leveling system in which every time a certain amount of experience is gained, Aya will increase in level and gain bonus points, which can be spent to increase the ATB meter and her various attributes. Her weapons can also be modified to do more damage, fire more bullets, and more with tools and super tools, both of which are in limited supply throughout the game. Actually, playing Parasite Eve in the modern day is kind of a strange experience. Not because it's bad, it's actually very good, but it feels like a mix of old and new that you wouldn't expect from a game that's almost 30 years old. Square's Parasite Eve is unique because it technically is a sequel to 1995 Japanese novel written by Hideaki Sena. The character Kunihiko Maeda even acts as a bridge between the novel and the game, briefly explaining the book's events. Funny enough, Hideaki Sena didn't even know much about the game's adaptation until release. Square worked with his publisher directly, so he wasn't involved in development. Parasite Eve was directed by Takashi Tokita, produced by Hironobu Sakaguchi, and featured character designs by Tetsuya Nomura, all names tied heavily to Final Fantasy. The story was originally supposed to be set in Tokyo, but Sakaguchi suggested moving it to New York City for a more global feel. Development also happened partly in Square's Hawaii studio, making it one of their first projects with a US-Japan hybrid team. Aya Bree's design is the result of a mix-up by Nomura. Sakaguchi wanted Aya to be a long-haired character like Aerith from Final Fantasy VII, but Nomura confused her with another short-haired character and fused the two together, creating the Aya we know today.
'90s Game Break.
Before Splinter Cell and Assassin's Creed, there was Tenchu Stealth Assassins on the PlayStation. Released in 1998, the same year as Parasite Eve, this game put players in the sandals of Rikamaru with his ninjato and Ayami with her dual blades, slipping through the night with grappling hooks and stealth kills. It was moody, tense, and felt ahead of its time. Like Parasite Eve, Tenchu showed how versatile the PlayStation library could be. Whether you wanted cinematic horror in New York, or feudal Japan dripping with shadows and blood.
Echigoya, where have you hidden?
Considering Parasite Eve was Square's first M-rated game, they kind of knocked it out of the park. It sold almost, 2 million copies? And even got a sequel a couple years later. Looking back, it's easy to see why Parasite Eve landed so well. Even with Resident Evil 2 on shelves, Square's experiment still feels unique. What stuck with me most was how cinematic it felt. For a PS1 game, the visuals and cutscenes carried so much weight, and paired with Yoko Shimomura's haunting score, it all felt ahead of its time, and still holds up today. Another reason I enjoyed this game so much is that it wasn't overly complicated. Some modern RPGs make me feel like I need to take a class just to understand all the mechanics, but Parasite Eve was straightforward. And speaking of weapons, it was always cool blasting away mutated creatures with her pistol, then switching to the rifle or grenade launcher when I needed more range or power, especially when it came time to take out the T-Rex. Eve herself was a wonderful foe. Beautiful, terrifying, and tough. She kicked my butt during the last boss fight a couple of times, and her ultimate being baby killed me like 2 more times. Not from its first stage, but when I had to escape the ship. I went the wrong way once, and another time I tried to save at a phone with no dial tone and paid the price. On the flip side, I love the little details like the Chocobo Easter eggs outside and inside the museum, or even Aya and Eve's designs. Both characters were drawn beautifully, and their interactions felt electric. The good, a deep story, Aya's strategic combat, gorgeous music, memorable cinematics, and one of the most unique RPGs of its era. The bad, some clunky difficulty spikes, a few annoyingly enemy types like the bats, and the fact that you can't skip cutscenes or dialogue before the last boss fights, which means replaying that whole thing if you die. But overall, this game was definitely worth playing, and while this playthrough gave me everything I hoped for, I'm really looking forward to playing Parasite Eve 2 in the future. Take care and remember, gaming is your road to adventure. Before we wrap up, I want to thank my Retro Warrior Knights, Mr. Postel, and Retro Man Randy Savage. You guys make this journey worth it. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and consider becoming a channel member to support this channel. Thank you all, and take care.